When I first heard that Oblivion was potentially getting a remaster or remake, it was during the Activision Blizzard / Microsoft FTC document leak kerfluffle. And damn, was I right? That I realize all of that feels like an age ago. But after that, the official news about this remake got sketchier than your average politician's browser history, and for a time it passed from memory and into myth. But alas, the leaked images you have all seen a gajillion times were spread across Reddit like breadcrumbs a couple weeks ago, and then on April 21st, Bethesda dropped a livestream announcement. We were off to the races, ladies and gentlemen. April 22nd, we got the live stream and the shadow drop, and my initial reaction was more mixed than the cast of your average modern fantasy TV show. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be a running theme for the review portion of this video. But being a Tez fan, I pried open my wallet, grabbed the game, and started playing. I will be chunking the review section of this video up into 5 sections. Role-playing, gameplay, writing, music, and performance and graphics last, for reasons we will get into, and which will become obvious if you pay attention to the footage used in this video. But with the preamble out of the way...
I was born 87 years ago. For 65 years, I've ruled as Tamriel's emperor. But for all these years, I've never been the ruler of my own dreams. I have seen the gates of Oblivion, beyond which no waking eye may see. Behold, in darkness, a doom sweeps the land. This is the 27th of last seed, the year of Akatosh 433. These are the closing days of the Third Era and the final hours of my life.
So, you start with the character creator, and right off the bat you are smacked upside the head with a first change, because instead of just picking your race, you also get to pick your origin. Real quick, I wanted to add that Bethesda really needs to hire a proofreader, as the descriptions have more grammatical errors than your average Twitter post, which fills out your backstory a little and determines your starting stats. And while this is a change that is somewhat welcome from a role-playing standpoint, you notice I said change and not addition. Because in the original game, your starting stats were determined by what sex you chose to play. But sex has been replaced with body type, so they added the backgrounds to fill in the gaps added by that particular socio-political pee-pee stupidity. So you choose your body type, build out your character, get whinged at by the Dunmer and the cell opposite, and after that you meet Jean-Luc Picard, Emperor Uriel Septim, who is fleeing from the assassins who seek his life. After a chat about his and your fate, you and the Emperor flee through a conveniently placed secret escape route in your cell and have a run-in with the assassins who are trying to kill him, after which you get abandoned and have to scramble through the caves underneath the Imperial prison for a bit on your own. This section serves as your introduction to a lot of the game's mechanics and helps you ease into the type of character you want to play. Anyway, after a bit you relink up with the Emperor, who tells you what star sign you were born under, which further determines your playstyle. There are good choices here for every playstyle and class. Pick the one that suits you best and prep for a final confrontation with the assassins, where the Emperor gives you an amulet and tells you to take it to Joffrey, as there's another heir. After that, he gets a forced nectotomy, buries the bro, kills the assassin, and then lets you pick your class or create a custom one. I almost always go with picking my own custom class over the prefabs, but none of the options are terrible, and just about every playstyle is technically viable, so pick what seems good to you and have fun. After this, Barius gives you a pat on the back and says to do as the old man said. After this, it's more sewers, at the end of which you are given a final opportunity to edit your character, class, and birth sign, after which you enter the wonderful, wacky world of Cyrodiil, at which point you get the choice of jogging on with the main quest or going off to collect forks for the remainder of the afternoon. Oblivion lets you choose how you want to play. Sure, you could do the main quest right away, or you could choose to roleplay as the Goblin Slayer and make a point of clearing the entirety of the heartland of the Green Menace. It's your choice. You can be the most noble of knights, or the dastardliest assassin to ever stalk the darkened halls of sleeping nobility. The remaster changes are largely welcome, with the exception of removing male and female from the character creator, which, thanks to mods, can be added back in, but it shouldn't have to be modded. Bethesda and Virtuos should not have changed male and female to body type 1 and 2, but in my opinion, the overall quality of the game is high enough to overshadow the socio-political stupidity. I'll go into this further into the discussion part of things, but for now, back to the review. Gameplay has been significantly improved in many ways. One major welcome change is leveling, as now all of your skills contribute to leveling. Major skills increase your level much faster than minor skills, but the leveling system is overall more forgiving than the original game, because unlike in the original, the leveling system allows you to generalize much better. You get 12 points that you can put into 3 attributes. Luck requires 4 points to level at 1 point, however you can distribute up to 5 points to every other skill per level. Skills unlock perks as you reach the required rank in that skill, and the ranks being Novice, Apprentice, Journeyman, Expert, and Master. Most of these changes are welcome, and overall I am very happy with the new leveling system. But leveling wasn't the only thing Bethesda changed. Combat and difficulty got an overhaul as well. Hit reactions were added to enemies, and you can no longer just get randomly stun-locked by baddies, as you can now only be stunned when you are fully out of fatigue, which is awesome, as this was one of the aspects of the original that was honestly very, very annoying. Weapons have been given new animations and movesets that look much better than in the original, however the unique moves you unlocked in the OG have been folded into these, and no longer have to be unlocked, which honestly I prefer, as the old system was kinda janky, and the new one is much smoother. Also, all of the weapons feel better than in the original game. A great sword feels different from a longsword or dagger. Combat isn't as floaty. The damage calculator for short swords and daggers is now agility instead of strengths, which is fine, but the problems come in with the changes made to difficulty. TLDR is that the hard difficulties are too hard, the easy difficulties too easy, and the medium difficulty is still easy. The jump from Adept to Expert is like trying to jump the Grand Canyon with cinder blocks on your feet. This change is just awful. I would prefer the original slider over this busted in half system any day. There are a couple of new quests that give new weapons and armor, and a couple conflicting quests from the original have been fixed. Honestly, I like a lot of what we got here, but I think that Bethesda and Virtuos need to figure out a middle ground between painfully hard and brain dead easy when it comes to difficulty. The writing in Oblivion, as a general rule, is better than what you see in Skyrim. Most quests have a couple of options on how to handle them, and just generally are a lot deeper and more fleshed out than what you find in Skyrim. And you're not going to wind up as the head of every guild you join either. You also aren't the main character for the main quest, as that spotlight goes to Sean Bean as Martin Septim. You are largely acting as the facilitator, which is a common theme for most of the quests in this game. You feel like a character in the world instead of the main character of the world. The Oblivionisms have been preserved, but we did get some new voice acting that adds depth so that every character of a particular race doesn't sound exactly the same, which I do appreciate. This is the shortest section because, honestly, if you like the old games writing, you will love the remasters, as it doesn't really change that much. The music in this game is god tier. In my list of most recognizable and iconic composers, Jeremy Soule is number 2 behind Martin O'Donnell, and the OST for this game is some of his finest work, whether it is the triumphant opening track of Reign of the Septums, or softer, more atmospheric pieces like King and Country. This soundtrack is one of the greatest of all time. And never forget that Bethesda fired this absolute legend over an unsubstantiated Me Too allegation, and the mainstream media used this remaster as yet another opportunity to drag this man's name through the dirt. No matter how much you think you do not hate journalists in the mainstream gaming press enough. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have to discuss the performance, visuals, and graphics. Allow me to preface this by saying that I have a 3080 Ti, and for me, Starfield ran with almost no issues, but the Oblivion Remake runs like ass on my PC. Buildings, trees, rocks, the maps as a whole often fails to render in properly when loading into a cell. And it doesn't matter if it's an internal or external cell. Half the time, it's like the game has memory loss and forgets to load a cell for several seconds before it remembers that, oh yeah, it needs to do that, and so it does in hurried fashion. And it's not just rendering issues, the game crashes like an Asian woman trying to parallel park. This game doesn't have performance issues, ladies and gentlemen. It has a performance complex. The Day 1 patch may have actually made things worse. I have seen all manner of bugs from Bethesda games in my time, but this game is the worst running, most poorly optimized piece of shit I think they have ever released. A quadruple amputee on bath salts runs better than this game. But don't get me wrong, when the game actually functions properly, it's one of the most beautiful worlds ever rendered. Except for that they added the 2010s FPS piss filter to the game, so that half the time the world is obscured by smog so thick, you half expect it to start torching Lake Town in the Hobbit movies, and that is before we even get to the character models. Some look halfway decent, even beautiful, while others are pure, unrefined nightmare fuel. This game's graphics and art style are more up and down than a conservathoug's mouth on Elon Musk's dong. The overall art style is largely preserved from the original game, from weapons to armor to buildings. With the exception of the brown filter that washes things out, this game looks absolutely amazing. And honestly, I think the team over at Virtuos and Bethesda did a fine job. But those are just my basic thoughts on the Oblivion Remake. Taken piece by piece, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of the changes are good. Some are crap, some awful, and others are just meh. But I cannot in good consciousness recommend this game as it is right now. Despite being a massive Elder Scrolls fan, it's just not where it should be. In 9 months, however, when the game is patched, the problem's fixed, the mod's out, and it goes on sale, absolutely. I would recommend this game to anyone, whether they are an old fan returning or a newbie just dipping their toes into Elder Scrolls for the first time. Now, before I log off here and start editing this monster of a script together, I want to discuss briefly what I think this game means for the Elder Scrolls franchise going forward. Sadly, I don't think it means that much for Elder Scrolls 6. Bethesda has either ignored or taken a pair of pruning shears to this series and its features since Daggerfall. For every one thing they have added, they stripped out 5 more, and no, I don't think that the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be an Unreal Engine title. They may layer Unreal Engine 5 over Creation Engine 2, like they did with this game, but even then, I don't think that if they did, it would necessarily be a good thing, because ultimately, the engine isn't the problem for Elder Scrolls 6. Instead, it is the simple fact that the people creating it have a design philosophy in direct opposition to what the Elder Scrolls was always meant to be. Elder Scrolls was always meant to be a rich, deep, open-world role-playing game series where the character is steeped in a living, breathing world. But modern Elder Scrolls games, and Bethesda titles by extension, are nothing more than vapid, soulless, shallow theme parks. With the success of this game, we'll probably see remakes of Morrowind, Fallout 3, and New Vegas, but in my opinion, the actual future of this franchise is pretty bleak. But that is my review / rambling discussion of the Oblivion Remaster. I hope that you found this video in some way entertaining, and I hope you all have an excellent day. If you want to support the channel, leave a like and a comment on the video, and subscribe. I will be doing more videos like this in the future. Also, there's a coffee link down in the comments if you are feeling particularly generous. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Pete, the Radical Nerd, signing off.